My name is Auður Magnúsdóttir and I'm from Iceland, where I currently live with my family. I would like to tell you the story of how I came to be standing on a stage in Markerville, Alberta, telling the ancient story of Grettir the Strong. In the years 2009 to 2012, I lived in Calgary with my husband Jóhannes and my two young sons, Flosi and Jakob, while Jóhannes was studying for his PhD. When Jóhannes asked me if I would like to move to Calgary, I hesitated. I was about to give birth to our second son, and the older one was only 3 years old, and I knew virtually nothing about Calgary, except for the Winter Olympics in '88. But I said yes, and we moved to Calgary, to a blank page. However, when we were there, knowing no one, we started to make a new life for our family and making connections to the place and the wonderful people we got to know there. I was a stay-at-home mom, but I had the opportunity to give Icelandic lessons to people of Icelandic origin in the Leif Eriksson Club in Calgary. I'm not a trained teacher. I am an environmental consultant by profession, but I really loved meeting my students and sharing with them the knowledge of the Icelandic language and the culture. One of my students in the classes was Karen Gummo, a storyteller and a Western Icelander, which means that she is descended from Icelandic immigrants. After 1 or 2 years in Icelandic classes, we discovered that we are in fact related. We are cousins. Talking about making connections. I had no idea that I had relatives in Calgary. But to cut a long story short, she convinced me to participate in a Tales project, which aim was to tell the Icelandic saga of Grettir the Strong, or Grettir Saga in Icelandic. This was completely new to me. I had never told a story to an audience, except perhaps at a dinner table. And I had not read that saga, but I thought, why not? This will be an exciting experience. And here I might add that the Saga of Grettir is one of many sagas known as the Icelandic sagas. They are a narrative based on historical events that happened in the 9th to 11th century, but they are recorded a bit later, and it is thought that Grettir Saga is written somewhere before the year 1400. The sagas are our heritage, and we are very proud of them. We read them at school, and even though they are not considered historically accurate, they do throw a light on the time just after the settlement in Iceland. And it is not uncommon for homes to own a copy of the sagas on their shelves. So, while on vacation in Iceland, I got my copy of Grettir Saga from storage and brought it back with me to Calgary and set about reading it. The text is in very old Icelandic, so the reading was pretty slow for me, and I used every opportunity to read when not tending to my children. One time I even brought the book with me to the gym, and as I sat on the stationary bike reading, I happened to glance up and see a young man walking past me sporting a tattoo of Mjölnir, the hammer of Thor, the god of thunder in Norse mythology. And I thought to myself that there's a connection, and kept on reading and biking with more energy. And the first cairn to the Grettir Saga was meeting at a workshop in Markerville, which is a small settlement where in the olden days many Western Icelanders lived. Karen, who had an English translation of the saga, fortunately, divided the text into segments and distributed them to the 15 storytellers, who had then to go on learning their respective segment and reshaping the text into a presentable text of an appropriate length. But in conjunction with the workshop, there was a storytellers retreat at Sylvan Lake, and I remember doubting my place at a retreat with seriously experienced storytellers. But I participated anyway, cautiously though. But then one night suddenly I found myself in a circle of people holding a stone in my hand that signaled that it was my turn to share a story. And I had to think fast. So I told them a story from my family that tells of paranormal activities. And that seemed to spark an interest, because afterwards I was approached by ladies of First Nation origin who also shared with me their experience and belief in otherworldly matters, such as hidden folks, which could have been right out of Icelandic culture. It was fascinating. And there again, a connection. So back to Grettir Saga. I wrote the lines of my segment and I practiced diligently. I sounded my lines to the wind and the wildlife of Nose Hill Park in Calgary, and to my Karen, the storytelling veteran. And we soon discovered that the pronunciation of many of the Icelandic names were very hard for the storytellers. So therefore I created and shared videos where I pronounced the names and tried to explain how best to approach the correct sounding. The big event was then in early May 2012, where we told the saga of Grettir the Strong from morning until night at Fensala Hall, the community center of Markerville. There, the 15 storytellers stepped onto stage and presented us with various scenes from the saga with great conviction. The storytelling was broken up with folk dancing, Icelandic singing, and meals of Western Icelandic origin, and it truly was a feast for body and mind. But as you maybe have noticed, I haven't explained the saga of Grettir the Strong here, and I don't intend to. But I can say that Grettir was quite the character. He was an outlaw, a man of temper, and renowned for his physical strength. I cannot say I connected to him during the process of learning the story. I was even a little surprised how unlikable I found him. But the saga is good, exciting, and offers a look into the lives and faiths of people that are both far away and somehow familiar. What I found most remarkable was to see the saga retold in a very different environment by people who had, most of them, no connection to Iceland. And it was a bit unreal, sitting in the middle of Canada, being transformed to barren Iceland, witnessing respectable ladies describing brutal slaying of the early settlers. And it worked perfectly. Maybe it shows in some way how powerful Grettir Saga is, that it can be retold in a new way by new voices in foreign surroundings and be both a bit unfitting but also interesting and gripping. I can say for myself that this was, for me, a truly unique experience. Thank you, Tales, Karen, and Canada for the opportunity.